welcome back to another episode of Porous Borders. This is episode 12 with Dharma and Wukir Suryadi, and today's episode is kind of an unusual one because I'm talking to two musicians. So I'll give you a little bit of context. Dharma is a guitarist who has played in a lot of different projects over the years. At the moment, he's probably best known for his work in the Singapore art rock band, the Observatory. That band has been running for almost 20 years now. They've made a bunch of records, they've toured all over the world, and they even have a documentary you can check out called The Obs. You can find that on iTunes, and Dharma appears in it quite a lot, as well as a lot of other Singapore musicians, and David Toop even pops up in it for a little bit as well. The Observatory is currently a three-piece consisting of Dharma on guitar, Yuen Chee-Wai on guitar, and Cheryl Ong on drums. They're all amazing musicians, and you'll definitely be hearing more about them in future episodes of this podcast. If you're interested to check them out, they have quite a few albums, as well as some collaborations with bands you might know, like Mo and the Acid Mothers Temple. So back in December, I went to a festival in Singapore called Playfreely, which the Observatory had organized, and I asked Dharma if we could record an interview. He was super busy at the time because, as well as doing the festival, he was doing a recording session with Wukir. If you're not familiar with Wukir, he is best known for being one half of the band Senyawa, along with Rully Shabara. You can check out episode 2 of this podcast if you want to hear an interview with Rully. And Wukir builds his own instruments for all of his projects. And he was also playing at Playfreely with a new instrument he had built. So at the end of one of their recording days, I went down to the studio to interview Dharma. And since Wukir was there hanging out as well, I ended up recording a quick interview with him. The recording was a bit chaotic, but in a really good way. We ended up recording it outside in the fresh air because they'd been cooped up in the studio all day. But it was quite a windy day, so you'll hear that in the microphones. And then it started raining, so we ended up moving back inside. You can also hear a third person who helps translate for Wukir at a couple of points. That's my friend Mahamboro, who was also in Singapore at the time to play some shows. So it was just a really nice afternoon with all of those guys, and hopefully that comes across in the recording. This, I think, was one of my favorite interviews I've done so far for this podcast, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. After the recording session, Dharma and Wukir did a short tour of Malaysia together, and they also released a split cassette. And you can find a link to that in the show notes. So thanks again to Dharma and Wukir for squeezing this in at a busy time. Before I go, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel. I've just uploaded video to there from a performance Dharma and Wukir did with PGR from Italy. And don't forget the Sonic Vortex compilation and the Panchawala split. Okay, see you next week. Been a busy week for you.
Yep.
Can you tell, maybe for the benefit of the listeners, a bit about what's going on? You just finished a recording session with Wukir.
Yeah, we set up yesterday, and we've been doing these improv sessions, making noise, irritating one another, and yeah, we'll do a bit more tomorrow. And before that, I think Wukir arrived on Wednesday, right? Yeah. And we had this festival on Thursday and Friday, Playfreely 2019, our annual festival. and it was a lot of work organizing of the whole thing. So yeah, it's been a really busy period.
Yeah. I might come back and ask you about a bit more about the festival later.
Sure.
But I was thinking I was interested to ask you, because I know that you've been making music for a really long time, like probably a bit longer than most people in experimental.
I'm
scenes
old,
in
yeah.
Southeast
So,
Asia.
yeah, so yeah.
You you grew up in Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born in Malaysia, grew up in Malaysia, came to study in Singapore,
Right.
and then I lived here since. I came to do my tertiary education here.
Right. And were you playing music when you were younger, before you moved
Oh yes,
here?
I've been playing music since I was 14.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what were you playing, and where you grew up? Were you playing
I
rock and
when at 14 I was living in Penang,
right? Yeah.
and I mean I was always, even before I could play the guitar, I was listening to music a lot and really into music, you know. So of course, eventually I wanted to play the guitar, and I picked it up by myself, and it was based on the music I was listening to the time. That time it was not metal yet; it was still called heavy metal.
Okay. Yeah.
So like bands like and hard rock, of course. So one of the earliest bands to make a big impression on me in terms of rock music is AC/DC.
Right.
Actually, Back in Black and
Yeah.
and the older albums, Bon Scott stuff. Yeah. And of course the whole Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple,
Yeah.
and later on Iron Maiden and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I started basically with heavy metal, hard rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
And
still listen to that stuff?
Sometimes it's nice to hang out with some friends and
Yeah.
yeah. Some good raw
Yeah.
hard rock and roll stuff.
Yeah. I think AC/DC is one of those bands that's like,
Yeah,
you can't go wrong, really.
Yeah. And sometimes
always.
and recently I've been watching some clips of AC/DC that's been up on YouTube, like stuff they did after the Flick of the Switch album, which we're doing some sound checks and stuff. That raw guitar sound, man.
Yeah.
Malcolm Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
So when you came here, was the Observatory wasn't your first project? Was it?
No.
Even though you've been part of the band from the beginning?
Yeah, when I came here, way before Observatory was even formed in any form, in any way. So I just started playing, meeting people, because Singapore being a small country, you know, once you play music, and it's easy to get to know people in the same circle of things. Then I started playing in the pubs and stuff.
Yeah.
And from there, everything.
Yeah. So, I guess the Observatory's been pretty long-running band now.
It started officially in 02 or 01,
Right.
thereabouts.
Yeah. I've seen a bit of the documentary. I
Okay.
haven't finished it, but
Okay.
there, I kind of maybe got about 40 minutes in last night.
Okay.
And I think I remember you were talking about back then there was a lot of kind of like it was hard to find a venue, and there was stuff in the papers about kids moshing, and
The part about the venue is still the same. It's still so hard to find a venue because Singapore, being such a small country, rent is so expensive. So just to rent a venue, it's very difficult. You know? It's very expensive, and playing this kind of music, you're not going to make a lot of money at the door.
yeah.
So how do you go about trying to cover the rent? So one way is to approach the venue owners and ask if you can get some kind of agreement, like, you know, you bring in this crowd and there's some exposure to the venue, and hope that works with the venue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We can't solely rely on what we collect at the door. I think it's pretty much same in most places.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah. So, can you tell me a little bit about the story of how the Observatory formed and what your role in it was at the beginning?
The Observatory was formed mainly by the two previous members, Leslie Low and Vivian Wang. And they were working together, and they decided to form this band. And write these songs. So they had some songs written and stuff. They had a third member at the time, but that didn't last long. So I mean, I've been a fan of Leslie Lowe's music for a very long time. He was an amazing person, and he had this band before the Observatory in the 90s. This band called Humpback Oak, which is a big thing in the music scene in Singapore back then. So when Leslie and Vivian had these songs together, they did approach me and ask if I'm keen to play on their first live gig. That was the very first Bay Beats. Bay Beats is another rock festival that happens at the Esplanade. So at the very first Bay Beats festival, they were invited to play. So they needed another musician. So that was when I joined. I think it was end of 01.
Okay.
And then it felt really good working with them, and I really liked the material. And then we started to expand, get more people. Yeah, that's how it all happened.
So for, I guess, a new listener to the Observatory, it's kind of a daunting project to get your head around, I guess. Seeing what you guys do live now, it's quite different to if you look for the albums on Spotify.
Yeah, and especially what Observatory is now.
Yeah.
There's no more vocals, it's just 3 people. There's no bass. There's no bass guitar player either. So it's very different.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about how that transformation happened?
How did it happen?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know any easier way to describe it besides the fact that life happens.
Right. Yeah.
And people move on, people break up and stuff like that, and people have a change of mind of what they want to do and stuff. Yeah, that's basically how it is.
Yeah. So
like Leslie is still making music now.
Yeah.
And he's doing he's doesn't want to play loud music anymore, and he's more going back to his roots of singer-songwriter stuff. Yeah. Really good music he's put out in the last 2 years.
The Playfreely festival has been running for quite a few years now. Have you been part of organizing that from the beginning?
Yes, it started in 2011 over here. So we had this series of improv shows every fortnight, series of 6 I think 6. And it was something that we wrote in for funding. So we did it here every fortnight with different musicians from Singapore. And it was quite encouraging response from people. And then we decided to do it as an annual festival from then on. So like in 2013, we got to invite Wukir, among other musicians, to come. And that's when I first met Wukir.
Right.
So if I didn't have the opportunity of being involved with that festival, I wouldn't have met Wukir and so many other people after that in Java and Jogja and stuff. And we've I guess when we started to do it as an annual festival, we opened it up to have foreign musicians.
Right.
Yeah. And it's been a great experience because I got to meet all these people from elsewhere, and we talk about exchanging notes, how difficult it is creating this kind of music in everyone's own home country.
Yeah.
And it has been inspiring, and it also has been very positive in the sense that we get to understand a lot more things and how we can work our way around to try keep doing what we want to do. Yeah.
Comparing notes and
exactly, comparing notes.
I wanted to ask if there's any particular way you guys go about approaching putting the lineups together. So I was looking at I guess the one that just happened, all of the performers were from Southeast Asia and East Asia, I guess, right?
Yes.
But in the past, you've had people from New York and
yes.
Yeah. So was that an intentional decision?
To a certain extent, because of what's going on in Hong Kong right now.
Right.
Okay. And in other places in the world as well. Like people being sick of all the capitalism, and the authoritarian dictatorships that's going on. So, and we as musicians, we feel, we have a role to play, and awareness mainly. So it was kind of a thought that we thought about, but it's not something we want to say that, yeah, this is what it's about. Then it becomes, it feels rather pretentious.
Yeah.
Because we are not politicians.
Yeah.
We are not even activists.
Yeah.
We are musicians.
Yeah.
But somehow music has a connection with life,
Yeah.
and the way of life, and awareness and questioning stuff, and exploring and stuff. So that's the link here. We don't want to say we are outright political activists. Yeah. We don't qualify.
Yeah, but it's always coming from a time and a place.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess moving on from the lineup, the format I thought was quite interesting. So on the first night you had people. Yeah, you kind of, each performer had an opportunity to play solo, maybe for everyone.
Solo or duo. Yeah.
So kind of everyone in the audience got the chance to, if there's people you're unfamiliar with, you got the chance to see what they're about.
Yeah.
And then everyone playing together, and then the second night,
Yeah.
you had duos and trios.
Yeah.
So that seemed quite, on you guys' part, like a intentional way to put the program together.
Yes.
Yeah.
We discussed it, and it's not the same every year as
Right.
well. So I guess we also try to consciously change it every year and see and learn from each year and see what is a better way of presenting things. But it's also very dependent on who the musicians are, what instruments they play and stuff. So that I can't say there's a fixed way of how we go about programming who plays with who and stuff. Of course, to a certain extent, I would like to see this person and this person. Yeah, I think there'll be some fire there. And we go for it. But sometimes we also think like, that might be too predictable and that might be too much, So it's
Yeah, there were some really interesting pairings. Like I wouldn't have expected seeing Wukir play with Dino, for example. But I really loved what they did. It was fantastic.
You can hear that their sounds match, and
What was it like playing with Heino for you guys?
Whoa, it's amazing. He's an amazing, really amazing person. Not that anybody doesn't know this, you know.
Yeah.
And he's a very nice person, and it's been, I would say, it's been very inspiring, and we as Observatory have never really played like that.
Right.
Like what we played that night, and it was something he was like hoping to just go for it and have different, not just keep to one theme, but just try to keep changing the themes and stuff. And so it was really great, and it was so great to hear a front person right now with the trio of Observatory, and and it's not any front person, mind you. It's probably KJ Heino. Yeah. That voice, that presence is amazing.
Yeah, I noticed he was like being kind of silly afterwards, like joking around with you guys when you took the photo and stuff. It's such an interesting contrast.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He's a very sweet person, actually.
Yeah.
He is. And he likes a lot of sweets, desserts.
Right, okay. That's a good place for him to be then. So I want to ask you a little bit about your work as well, like I guess how you came to approach the guitar in the way you did, because like as we were saying before, you started playing rock and metal and a more conventional approach to the guitar, I guess.
Right.
How did you
I guess after some time I got tired of metal and rock music in general towards the late 90s, and then I started experimenting with effects and having the thought of wanting to bring the guitar away from the usual sound that people hear of the guitar. It's also, I think, the music I was listening to at that time, I was listening to a lot of electronic music, dance music, modern dance music, like the IDM stuff and
Yep.
Warp Records and stuff.
Yep.
And it was a time when grunge died and grunge was a crash landing.
Right, yeah.
And grunge became boring as well and predictable and I wanted to get away from all that heavy guitar sounds. So that was the experimenting with effects. And then with Observatory, it was which happened in the early 2000s. It was a great way to actually further develop the sound of wanting the guitar not to sound like a normal guitar. And through the years, experimenting with the Observatory and bouncing off each other and spot sounds and stuff. And also, of course, witnessing concerts of people like Lee Ronaldo. I saw him live, and he had the spoon and stuff, and was doing it, and these things struck ideas. And of course, Sonic Youth has been doing this stuff with screwdrivers and stuff like that, and Fred Fritz and stuff. So it's stuff we were evolving as a band with, discovering new music, the Observatory, and then eventually it came down to totally being prepared right now. But I like the I can do that, and I can take it all off and play as normal guitar as well.
Right.
So I feel suddenly I have this a wider range of sonics that I can explore and bring to the table.
Yeah, I think your playing's really interesting because there's
you.
like a I guess you can see people using screwdrivers or different kinds of objects to play the guitar, but sometimes you can see that and it's like interesting spectacle of like he's using a weird object. But I feel like your playing has a lot of like you seem to hit particular notes when you use particular objects, and it's like there seems like you're thinking carefully about pitch and that kind of thing.
I was initially when I started doing this prepared stuff, I was just very amazed by the sounds. But then later on, you want to craft it a bit more. And it was also a time at a certain time in 2015 when I left the Observatory. I was in Auckland, New Zealand for eight months.
Right.
Trying to get a job there. It didn't work out.
Right.
But because of that experience, I wanted to come out as a solo guitar player, but not be boring. So I started to divide the guitar into two. So I have the left and right. So I can have a dialogue between my left and right hand. So that's the kind of thought that went into developing what I have right now. And then I thought about pitch as well, and exploring people like how John Cage and stuff they used to, and Harry Partch. You know, they put points on the instrument where they can get what pitch they want according to their compositions and stuff. So that was a thought that so the guitar, I have these pickups, I have these screws, these can be my markers, right?
Right.
So that's how it developed.
Yeah. How did you end up going to Auckland? What was the?
Well, I wanted to get out of Singapore and migrate. If you've seen the documentary, there's quite a big topic.
Right. I guess I haven't reached that.
Where we initially wanted to go to Canada and that didn't work out, and then my last attempt was thinking of New Zealand, but I couldn't get a job there because I didn't have a work permit.
Right.
But So I won't say I wasted 8 months. It was a good time in Auckland. I got to meet a lot of people, musicians and stuff. But I only went for one job interview.
Right.
But I played more gigs.
Okay. What music did you get to see? Because that's quite
I was mainly
place.
very much at the Audio Foundation.
Okay.
It's run by Jeff Henderson.
Okay.
Amazing sax player.
Yeah.
And he encouraged me to come and do a solo set when I'm ready, and that was also something that helps me develop my sound and do stuff like that. And I would say I didn't catch any international acts there, but mainly the scene in Auckland and how there's some improvisers, and there's this regular improv night every Monday called Vitamin S.
Okay.
And that was also another way of me meeting more people and just going out there and improvising and stuff like that. So that helped me. I guess being so many years with the Observatory and always with a band,
Yeah.
that put me to like, let me do something by myself and see how far I can bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of when I think of New Zealand guitarists, I always think of Roy Montgomery. Was he someone you?
Ray Montgomery?
Roy Montgomery.
I haven't heard of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I should listen.
Yeah,
to it.
that's fun to check out for sure.
Okay.
He's a professor of something, like some kind of something to do with plants or something.
Right.
I think in Dunedin, not in Auckland.
Okay,
But
in the south. Okay.
Really incredible guitarist.
Ray Montgomery.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard two other guitar players. Not Pumice. Pumice will be Neville. What's his name? Neville. I forget. But anyway, this other guitarist, I forget their names, but they do prepared stuff and
Right.
and but I didn't get to see them live in Auckland.
Okay.
I just saw their videos. Like, I'm here, so I want to see what's New Zealand about. So
Yeah.
I saw some of their clips on YouTube, and it's a different sound in New Zealand.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I feel like even like as an Australian, I feel quite proud of our musical heritage for such a small country.
yeah.
But I also feel like New Zealand is so far ahead of us, and it's so much smaller. And
Yeah.
And like I feel like, particularly in like indie rock and stuff like that, a lot of
Right.
Australian music is taking its cues from New Zealand.
Right. Yeah.
The Flying Nun records and that stuff.
Right. Yeah, actually, it was already happening in the 80s. I mean, Men at Work was huge
Yeah.
at the time, and that was the it kind of opened people's eyes on what's happening in Australia. And then there was all these bands like, because when I was growing up in Penang, I must share with you, there was the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Penang
Right.
at the time, and they had their own radio station. And that's where I was exposed to a lot of heavy metal music like Motorhead and
I see.
Black Sabbath and all, because the other stuff you don't normally get to hear this stuff on the radio. But this station was playing that. The local radio in Malaysia was not playing stuff like this. So I could hear it on the radio, and at that time there was no internet, of course.
Yeah.
So and you don't have enough money to buy all these albums,
Yeah.
right? So you listen to
Yeah.
the radio station. And listening to that radio station exposed me to a lot of Australian rock music at that time,
Right.
which was, I guess, kind of pop as well, like Midnight Oil,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The Angels, and,
Yeah.
and bands like that.
Yeah, those are good bands.
Yeah. Midnight Oil was a good band.
Yeah.
The early days, yeah.
Was there much of like a tape trading scene at that?
Not so much in Malaysia where I was, but I heard it was a lot happening in KL.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you always been a jazz master guy?
No, I started as a Strat person. It was Jimi Hendrix. I mean, I'm always very big impression Jimi. He's still the best.
Yeah.
I was always a Strat person. Then at some point, because getting into jazz, I used the 335, and then I decided someday to buy a Jazz Master. I think it was maybe because of Nels Klein and people like that.
Yeah,
Who I was listening to a lot in the late 2000s, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was interested to ask you about the Tangara Trio.
Tangara Trio,
Yeah. So that was the first time I saw you play.
Oh, okay, at Jogja.
Yeah, Jogja Noise Bombing.
I think I played hardly 5 minutes and the amp died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, that was a really amazing set.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we had a drummer at the
Yeah,
time, Darren
yeah.
Moore, who's from Perth actually.
It's from Perth.
Yeah. But he's based in Singapore. He's teaching here.
Okay. Yeah.
Dr. Darren Moore.
So I guess from the name, it sounds like you're trying to put together a group that kind of is, how can I put it, like a Southeast Asia group, but not just from one country.
But that was not the initial thought. It's just that I knew these people,
Yeah.
like Iqbal from Jogja
Yeah.
and Yenzen
Yeah.
from KL. And in 2016, we were playing at Klex. And I came with Iqbal after doing a tour in Jogja and in Java, and with a couple of guys from Denmark as well. So after that tour, then that tour carried on to Kleps in 2016, and then somehow of course, I knew Jensen before that,
Yeah.
the sax player, and we were programmed to play together, the three of us.
Right.
And that was the first gig we did, and we felt, wow, this is really good. Sounds
Yeah.
really good, and that's how it started.
Okay.
So we didn't have the name in mind or
Right.
even any thought about it.
Yeah.
And then we had to come up with a name.
Right. Okay.
That's how.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it fits. You guys have a record out now, right?
Tenggara Trio, yes, it's
Yeah.
called the South of the East.
Yeah.
Which actually is southeast, right?
Yeah.
The south of the southeast, and that's what Tenggara means.
Yeah.
The southeast, yeah.
How do you? Yeah, I guess you play in two groups with another guitarist who's not playing bass, like another
Yeah.
six-string guitarist.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess none of you are doing anything that's conventionally guitar music, but
Right.
I guess I'm curious how you approach playing with someone else who's sitting in that same frequency range as you.
You see, Iqbal is in a much lower frequency.
Oh, okay.
But he can
yeah.
reach the highs as well.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I met Iqbal because of Wukir. Right?
Okay,
He
yeah.
introduced me to him.
Yeah.
So, and Iqbal has this self-made guitar and strings, cross tuning strings.
Yeah.
So that gives a lot of rumble, low rumble. So he holds the low frequencies, and I hold pretty much the higher end.
Okay.
And the sax also can go even higher.
Yeah.
So that's how it came about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been difficult if Iqbal and me were on the same frequency. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Observatory right
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Right.
But we plan our parts.
Yeah, I felt like you guys handled that really well in the
Thank you.
performance the other night
Yeah,
too.
thank you.
Yeah. Is that something you talk about a lot? And
Yes,
think
yes,
about a lot?
I think about it a lot. Like
Yeah.
like how to like do the next performance. How we want to develop the sound. I see that as a very important thing to have consideration on the frequencies, the ranges that each of us occupy or can occupy, or how to go about occupying certain ranges that's not being occupied. I think that's very important in creating music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you do this full time now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did it this time.
Has it been a difficult journey to?
It has,
Yeah.
and I must say I wouldn't be able to do it if not for my wife, who's very supportive
Right.
of this. She has a job, so
Yeah.
she earns most of the bread in the house,
Yeah.
the money in the house. So that makes it easier for me to explore
Yeah.
difficult music that doesn't
Yeah.
that hardly brings in any money.
Yeah. I have a couple of Singapore friends who do music full time or close to it, and
Right.
it's kind of like it's a real hustle here, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But it is in most places as
Yeah,
well, right?
yeah.
Everybody's struggling and trying to get some funding,
Yeah.
a piece of that pie that the government is putting out there. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's really tough, I guess.
Yeah, how do you manage that in the observatory with getting funding? 'Cause
Fortunately,
you guys have
the
done quite
observatory,
well, right?
we are under this major grant from the National Arts Council, so there's a lump sum of money there that we use to organize our gigs and stuff, and give ourselves some allowance. As in, it's not a fixed amount every month. But
Right.
Sometimes there's no money even. So we work it out, I guess, and then I guess. I don't have a lavish lifestyle. You know,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
something that
Yeah.
I practice either. You know, so that makes it easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have any recorded material coming up that you're releasing?
Observatory?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we are thinking of recording something early next year.
Okay.
So we kind of blocked out our time, January, February,
Yeah.
maybe March.
Because your last record was before Leslie left the band.
Yes,
is
yes,
that right?
yes,
Yeah.
The last record was something we recorded live at the last performance Leslie played with the Observatory.
I see.
And it was released as a split with the Acid Mother Temple. Acid
Ah,
Mother's
okay.
Temple,
Yeah. That's that release.
And so this thing that we're going to record, hopefully, is the first new observatory, which we've been working on this piece that's a bit more than half an hour right now.
Yeah.
It's a long piece, so we are crafting it, fine tuning it, and make sure it's not boring, interesting enough. With some, the challenge is the low frequencies, because 2 guitars, drums, no low frequency, but there's electronics as well.
Okay.
And so we're working how to make it happen.
Are you ready to talk at all about the session you just did with Wukir, or is it a bit too fresh?
I got not much to say about it, because when you play, there were some really good moments, I thought, but usually sessions like this, I after it's done, I keep it aside and revisit it maybe a month later or more.
Yeah.
Will be better, and then I will see if there's something that's good out of it and what we want to do about it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit hard for me to say how good it's been, or how bad, or how boring, stuff like that. But it's been great playing with him. He's got this self-made guitar and all these objects and stuff, and I got that as well. So there's a lot of raw object sounds that you will hear if it comes out.
It's generally in this kind of session, you're just playing a lot together and editing. Editing it later, right?
I hope to not edit as much as possible. I would like to keep it, but it really depends how good the material is.
Cool. So I know you have a tour together coming up. Is there anything else you're working on now, or you have coming in the future that you want to talk about?
After this tour, I'm going to take a break for a bit for the year and then focusing on Observatory. So it's pretty much most of next year is kind of, we've got quite a few stuff lined up, and that we are writing proposals for, and conceptual stuff. We'll be working with other artists, maybe film, maybe other stuff. And I'm not totally sure right now. We have to discuss a bit more. So it's going to be pretty much a lot of Observatory next year for me.
Cool. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing.
Thank you,
do.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you think we should cover, or?
Sorry, nothing comes to my mind.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe you should talk to Wukir. He's got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should I move the mic to him, or if you?
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit, Wukir, about how the session was for you and playing with Dharma?
Like Dharma said before, I met Dharma like 2013. Yeah, 2013. 2013 when in Observatory invite me to Playfreely. Why I do this session recording with Dharma is because more than 5 years I know him, and then when in Japan we have conversation, and then I see how he play, and then I feel I need to do this session recording, because how he developing the sounds, I think is like interesting, and then I want more feel what he playing, what he sounds, and then until now I don't know yet how what we do with the file after recording, but we just just do, and then we don't know yet what we can do in the future with that sound. I just feel like okay, I need we need play together, like give the sound, and then hear the sounds, and then let's see what's happening in the future.
How was the festival for you, playing in Playfreely?
It's good, because so many Asian, and then I can feel like people from Hong Kong and from Korea, and then NKG Heno is coming too, and we talking a lot about what happening, and then yeah, I'm enjoy with the festival. Yeah.
Was it fun playing with Dino?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. It's for me, it's, the sound is crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he play with the like, yeah, like
Yeah.
high what, like really high, yeah, high frequency.
Yeah.
And then I play like really
Yeah.
low tuning.
Yeah.
And then he never talk.
Yeah. It's so quiet.
Yeah, he never talk, and then interesting. He just talking after play, and then he say, he really happy play with me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy play with him,
Yeah.
and then he want to do more on the future, but I don't know when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw him afterwards, I said, "Oh, it was really great hearing you guys play together," and he just had a really big smile. And said,
Yeah.
"Thank you."
Yeah.
Can I ask you about your instrument?
Oh,
that
yeah,
you're-
yeah.
It's a new
Yes.
thing you're working on now.
Yeah. Actually, the instrument is the idea is the first. I use that material actually like when I to do the Jakarta Biennale in 2015. 2017 ya. 2017. I use I'm making like installation, sound installation like 4 meter and then 8 meter. I use bronze. After that exhibition, I break all the material, and then I just thinking to making small and then more developing again, because I like the sound, and then the sounds like mewakili apa Ham? Apa mewakili Dharma?
Representing.
Yeah, like representing what I am curious about the future, about the people, about the life, about the government. The sound is really heavy, and then like the life. No, I don't know like what happening with the future, with my government, or with the world, because so many changes, and then so many productivity, even like more car, more anything is new, and then it's crazy.
Consumerism,
Yeah. That's why I had to do.
It seems like you're working with some really low-end frequencies on this now.
Yeah.
Is that something you wanted to try with this new direction?
Yeah, because I want like apa ya, getaran ya. Getarannya apa?
Vibration.
Yeah. I like I want to give the vibration how apa ya vibration dari apa ya, I want apa ya, vibration apa ya, ketakutan
Fear.
ya apa ya, scary ya.
Scary.
Yeah, scary. I want apa ya? Express the ketakutan
Right,
to the people.
Yeah.
That's why I use that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I noticed you were like pouring some food or something on it the other night. What was that?
Yeah. Actually, that I used that when I present industrial mutant first in Malang, in East Java. That like representation. in that time the first I use rice. After rice I use soya bean, and then after soya bean I use like stone.
Right.
Yeah, like yeah, it's important uh, ha, like relativity with the farmer actually.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So some like, some important
Yeah.
things from daily life
Ya,
as a farmer.
yang hubungannya sama ketakutan tadi, that's related with the scary things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
When all the apa ya, semuanya produktivitasnya dibuat tinggi,
Yeah.
terus kadang-kadang apa ya, yang saya takutkan adalah lupa bahwasanya human is still human, you know. Human apa manusia tetap manusia
Okay.
gitu loh.
So like you're saying the production
Yeah.
is getting more and more increasing,
yeah.
and it's possibly means losing the humanity
Yeah.
in what they're doing.
Dan apa ya, saya melihat I see like sekarang semua negara, all the country like want bringing people to one way, like same
way of life,
yeah.
same thinking.
Yeah. That's I'm scary about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
You and Dharma are going to be touring together in Malaysia.
Dharma, yeah.
What can we expect from those shows?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just released a split cassette.
Yeah.
I put like one song 35 or 35 minutes, and then Dharma put 3 songs.
Okay.
And then I feel like this need like a tour for like apa ya, tour itu untuk apa ya, untuk menyelamati apa ya, untuk semangat, untuk menyelamati, untuk selamatan aja, Pak. Selamatan apa?
To celebrate.
Yeah, to celebrate.
Yeah.
We already do that. Even that's just we put like 80
Yep.
it's cassette.
80 cassette.
Yeah.
Small run.
Yeah.
And the stuff was not even mastered.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not editing and master it.
Yeah.
Dharma too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe I don't know. Let's see. Just yesterday we just talking. Maybe if happening, maybe we want to put on CD. Maybe, but let's see.
Yeah. So for now, it's a self-release project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it online anywhere on Bandcamp or?
Online yet.
Okay.
But we want to sell the cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe soon. Later.
Soon.
After
Yeah,
that.
after tour.
Yeah, next year.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of starting to rain,
you
so
wanna go in?
yeah. Let's
Tak dengar lahir aku ngomong.
Hey,
Okay.
Wukir, I know
Yes.
you recently moved to Salatiga.
Yes.
in Java, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to tell me about
Okay.
why you moved and what it's like living there now?
Yeah, actually in Salatiga is I need to take care of my family, and then now I'm starting like making small space actually. I just done like making a kitchen for preparing when somebody want coming on learning something, because Salatiga is not really far away from Jogja too, and then when you go to Jogja from Salatiga, you apa ya? Kamu melewati gunung ya, Waham?
Yeah, you go through the mountains.
Yeah, to go to the mountain, and then that's a really good environment actually, and then I feel really fresh when in Salatiga too, and then I meet many young people in the mountain too. Merbabu Mountain, and then they are really talented. And then I was learning too about more about environment, about the farmer, because what is important now for me is how it's making life more long. Yeah, and then that for Senyawa, we have program. We try making like a program on the future, and when some like young people want learning about the arts or about the music or about the life, we have a place. And I'm still in try to apa ya keep the office in Jogja, because that's important place too. Like now, so like now, like one artist from Japan, she's stay there, and then to meet the people too, and then like just 1 week before, like 15 student from Tasmania University, they coming. That's important for me learning to like what's happening now and what's happening in the future. And then office in Jogja, like I'm learning to with the young people, like now like I can invite them to coming and talking. Like that. That way, maybe when already safety my family, for 1 week, like 3 days in Salatiga and 3 days in Jogja. Yeah, like that.
Maybe since I'm talking to both of you guys now, maybe I can ask you, Wukir, you've played a lot in Singapore. Dharma, you've played quite a lot in Jogja. What's it like to go from Singapore to Jogja or to play? What are the differences, I guess, between the two cities for you guys?
I only play in Jogja twice, actually.
Right.
Not so many, but it's totally different. Jogja is the atmosphere, the energy is very strong. It's like a community of artists working on so many projects, you know. And I don't think so. I've experienced something like that. Even in Europe, in Berlin, there are so many people doing music and stuff, whatever art, but they are not. I don't feel that they are as connected with each other as in Jogja. Jogja is so connected, so it's almost like a one-stop solution for art. That's what I think, because there are the visual artists, there are designers, there are instrument makers, there are people who repair electronics and stuff, and there are a whole lot of musicians and artists. So it's very connected, and people are not like isolated. Unlike I feel in Europe, people are generally more isolated in working on their stuff. And Singapore is pretty much like that as well. It's very, very isolated, and of course a lot less people working on art compared to Jogja or even Europe. And Singapore, on top of that, everything is so expensive. Rent is so expensive, so people can't. It's so hard for musicians or artists to find their own space where they can work and even to present their work. But in Jogja, there's a lot of spaces, and people, even if there's no space, they will make a space somehow. They'll make it happen. Yeah. So that's very. It's very inspiring. It's very strong. It's very much the human spirit, I think. Yeah.
How about for you, Wukir? What
Difference between Singapore and Jogja?
Yeah, how's your experience playing here compared to Jogja?
Yeah, of course, really different, because here is everything is really calculate, and then Jogja not yet like that.
Yeah.
But maybe become.
Yeah.
And then uh, in here, they need when they organize like some concert, they need more long time for preparing. In Jogja is sometimes really fast, and then that's of course really different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, is there anything either of you guys want to add before we finish, or?
You want talking something, Dharma?
I don't know.
Maybe Dharma want talking about what he feel about our recording.
I already said I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
talked
sure.
about
Yeah.
it before. Yeah.
But it's been great doing this past 2 days, and we have one more day tomorrow. It's like we are making the objects, giving a voice to the objects.
Yeah. Are you guys just doing this here by yourself, or you have an engineer?
Now we'll be doing better. So we wouldn't want to trouble somebody to sit here.
Yeah. That's tiring, though, doing everything
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And
No, but it's
playing
it's
as well.
easy once you've got it set up, and because we're just doing improv, so we just press record and go for it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you both so much for
Thank
doing
you,
this.
thank you, Andrew.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you both play in KL.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Likewise,
looking-
you guys. Yeah.
And looking forward to hearing this recording as well.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
thanks-
you.
thanks for your
Thank
time.
you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Porous Borders. If you're interested in exploring more underground music from the Asia-Pacific region, you can check out my YouTube channel, Concrescence Records. You can find the link to that in the show notes. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review in the iTunes store. If you have suggestions or feedback and you want to get in touch, you can email the show at porousborders@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at @ANDRWMH.